Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a long one. I think maybe the longest video we've ever done on this channel. So, if you're looking for something to listen to while you're getting your dailies done, strap in and get ready to step into the mind of Grim and Cuddles. Let's get into this. Now, on the 9th of May, Asmongold did a Twitlonger. This was to address the negativity that is currently brewing in the WoW community. As you may know, we on this channel have been trying to do kind of the same thing, but in our own small way, trying to focus on the positives of the game. And should the need arise to talk negatively about something, then we want to do it in a constructive way, rather than drama, clickbait, the devs are incompetent, as seems to be the current trend. So upon seeing this longer from Aswan, we were hopeful that he was also trying to achieve the same goal, making this community a place where we focus on the things that we enjoy, so that they may continue into future expansions, and are able to have a dialogue with the developers, so that we can explain where a feature may have fallen flat with us, the players, but also, on the flip side, to understand what it was the developers were trying to achieve. So that maybe, and this is a crazy idea I know, both sides can make this game better? Now that would be a great use of Asmongold's size and influence. He isn't, of course, just going to make another "the devs are incompetent" speech and how it would all be better if we just did what he wanted. Right? Right?
You serious?
Sadly, it was exactly what we thought it was going to be. More classic Asmongold. It was more hatred and scorn upon the development team, and a demand for more incitement from the community. Now, I read most things regarding World of Warcraft on Twitter. I read Wowhead every day. I'm part of more Discord groups than I have alts, and I go to the WoW forums more often than realistically is healthy. But Cuddles does none of that. Cuddles goes to work, deals with real-world stresses, not things in Azeroth. She simply logs on to WoW to relax and have fun with her friends. What a crazy notion that is. So imagine my surprise when I get a text during the day saying, "We are talking about that Twitlonger tonight." So from that simple text, this whole video is born. We two casuals started talking at 8 PM. At 2 AM, we were still going. This video is a little glimpse into that conversation. I will be reading the Twitlonger as we go, so that you kind of know what we're talking about at certain sections, but if you wish to follow along, or to be fair, just read it for yourself and see what you think, then I will put a link in the description down below. Now the chatting, that was just the start. Since then, this video has taken me 3 days to create. Now granted, I'm no Pixar, I'm no animator at all, but I will say it's been fun, and I wanted to do something more than just put Torghast in the background as I ran it. All this work hasn't been done because we believe millions are going to watch this video, but because we wanted to show that there are those of us that still love World of Warcraft, and we're prepared to do far more than just 2,000 word essays to prove it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our first ever episode of Two Goblins Talk. So here we go, let's get into this. Recently, especially with the Burning Crusade announcement, along with the 9.1 PTR data mining, there's been a lot of negative sentiment in the WoW community. Today, I want to talk about that sentiment regarding where it's come from and where I think it's going to go. Ever since Vanilla WoW, there have always been
doomsayers
of the community. Burning Crusades killed World of Warcraft.
Wrath turned the game into casual easy mode.
You know what I mean. You've seen it for years, just like I have. That is our opening introductions to the Twitlonger. Thoughts?
Dun dun dun.
I know. Won't somebody think of the children? The opening part, with regards to negative sentiment, are we going to... Where's that come from?
Where does it come from? Because you know what? I don't have time to post negative sentiment because I'm having too much fun playing the game.
Which is where...
During my precious time that I get to play the game.
Where we should all be, is enjoying the game.
So who gives that negativity? Who feeds that negativity?
Well, the sad truth is, this Twitlonger
Absolutely, because what does this Twitlonger do for influencers and people in a position of power?
But the problem is, it doesn't give anything. And we're going to get into this, obviously, we're going to read the whole thing. We might snip a few bits out, but we're going to try and read the whole thing for you, and it's going to take a while, as we said before, so
We'll have a long one.
hang in there. But in terms of, like, it is a good conversation. We're talking about premise and conclusion and coming up with a good opening statement. That's a perfect opening statement, because we do need to address the sentiment of why is it that we've become so negative in this WoW community? Why? Because that, probably more than any game design decision, is driving certainly new casual players to go and play games like ESO, Elder Scrolls Online, and not wanting to play World of Warcraft. Because if I jump into a dungeon as a new player, no, and I get screamed at because I picked the wrong tab, yeah, why am I going to play?
Yeah, I agree.
My time, exactly as you said, is precious. I only have a finite amount of it, and this is a hobby. I get it for all of these guys, all the influencers, the Bellulars, the Preachers, the Asmongolds. This is their living. This is where they make their money.
Do you know what happens if I play a single person game? I don't get people having a go at me if I make one little mistake.
I get escapism from the outside world.
Yep. But who makes people think that a normal dungeon should be run to a Mythic plus 18 standard with a Mythic plus 18 routing, with everybody geared, gemmed and enchanted up to the hilt? Where does that influence come from, Grim?
This comes from us, the community. It's not Blizzard, don't say that.
No, they don't.
That comes from us.
And why do people feel that they need to show off in that kind of environment and vote kick just because somebody has got the wrong talent choice?
Because it's speed. Everybody wants to do something ridiculously fast, and if I can make, and I go and belittle somebody else, then I feel better about myself. And we've become that's the acceptable norm. That's the standard this game should have. And it's never. A great example I always have is I've seen so many videos where people have turned around and said, "Lol, look at this person in a dungeon. They're rubbish noobs." And I'm talking really high level players, like players in top guilds, laughing at players who don't know what they're doing. When you see Venruki turn around and help out another player, that is so worthy of praise, it goes on the front page of Wowhead. There's something really wrong with the community where that apparently is so worthy of praise and not just the way we behave towards each other.
I agree.
Okay, we're heading into a 4-hour conversation just about the introduction, so let's head on to the next bit and see what we've got. The feedback itself is always the same. It's never different. However, the tone as of late has changed. The former passionate, righteous indignation followed by a 2,000-word essay has faded away and been placed with a resigned, defeated tweet. The anger is still there, but the hope behind it has been replaced with inevitability. When Warlord's Adrenaline turned out to be a disaster, frustration came from a place of betrayal. How could Blizzard do this to me? Why is this happening? Thoughts?
The thing is, who the hell writes 2,000-word essays in 2021 when you can just pick your mobile phone up and do a 5-word tweet saying, "I hate my life and wow"?
I'm glad you clarified that, because when you said about the 2,000-word essays, I was going to say me, because I wrote several of them when we used to play Warhammer.
Yes, but that's because you're a geek and used to sit in the geek forums.
Yes, and there's the thing, is Asmongold is living in a world where, classic or vanilla has come out. TBC maybe has just come out, or it's just on the horizon. It's a different era, a different time. When a geek wanted to vent, they had to sit down with their Mountain Dew or their full fat Coke or whatever, and they would have to go onto the forums, whichever one they wanted to peruse, and they would literally have to type out their response. They vent onto the page. And if you're going to sit down and actually do that, then you are going to vent everything. And they're big, long posts. They're the things that frustrate you. Nobody does that now. As you quite rightly said, if I can sit on the toilet and go, what's everybody moaning at? Oh god, hashtag rage at... fill that in later. 9.1 is a disaster. Change my mind, you can't, lol. Yeah, that'll do. Oh, I'm done with me poo, off I go. Like, that's it.
In the current way of communicating, people drop words all the time now without thought.
Because what they're saying here is that...
People have given up.
Which directly contradicts what a lot of people have said. There was a tweet the other day from J. saying the reason I moan is because I love this game and I want it to be better. Now there are constructive ways to do it, there are different ways to do it. But that doesn't say to me resigned to the inevitability of the disaster that is World of Warcraft. You can't say all of this anger, all of this vitriolic just hatred directed at Blizzard is because we love it, but then turn around and say it's inevitable that it's a disaster. Then why are you still paying a subscription? Walk away.
Is this not a bit of a doomsayer statement?
100%. This is, woe is me, it's all over, what's the point of trying?
I gotta be honest, alright? Warlords of Draenor, I know it's seen en masse as a disaster, but it did have some good content.
Was some of the best raiding I've ever done. I loved it.
And some of the leveling experience was good fun.
A
bit of a pain, but...
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of Tanan Jungle, and the garrisons at the very beginning were really glitchy.
Yeah, I mean, we did that on launch night and it was a mess.
Yeah, so... But yes, I don't have particularly horrid things about it. And do you know what? Here's a crazy thing for you, okay? I played Warlords of Draenor, as did you.
Yeah.
It got to a point where I was like, I am no longer enjoying my hobby.
I was about to say that.
Do you know what crazy thing we both did?
We cancelled our subscription for a year and a half.
And we went to play other things.
Yep.
What a mind-blowing concept.
And then they did this thing called Legion. I've not cancelled my subscription since.
Because we have enjoyed the game.
Yep.
There's a crazy idea, and that's a way that tells Blizzard, if suddenly Asmongold and his 50,000 subscribers or whatever he has on the Twitch, if they suddenly all just stopped playing World of Warcraft,
that's a lot of people.
That's going to make Blizzard take notice.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, we are staying in the game to make things better, and yet we are saying that there is no way it's going to become better because the inevitability is that it's already over.
Yeah. I think that's a bit of a doom statement when we're literally in the first patch of the new expansion.
Yes, which we're about to get onto. So now, when Shadowlands systems like Soul Ash or Conduit Energy are coddled along despite resounding condemnation from the community, the feeling is no longer betrayal. It can't be, because betrayal requires trust. And when trust was broken long ago, the heart can never be mended. Sorry.
You've added that bit yourself.
Sorry. I went to a dark place there. Sorry.
Keep going.
Okay. Now, when I see a system like Conduit Energy kept in the game, I see it as another desperate attempt to exhume participation metrics from a dying player base.
Can you explain to me what he means by that?
In the Tibetan philosophy, we're all dying. We're born to die. So we're all a dying player base.
Back to a statement about Conduit Energy kept in the game as a desperate attempt to exhume participation metrics from a dying player base. Well, I think it's actually been proven that the player base is not dying. It's steady, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not. So here's the thing, for those of you who don't know, there was a big drama video about how Final Fantasy has taken over from World of Warcraft as the big MMO kiddie in the pool. And the fact is it was completely wrong, but it sounded great. And then obviously we had the financial statement from Blizzard saying that compared to last quarter, over all the games, they've lost 29% of their user base.
Shadowlands was launched.
So Shadowlands launches, it always spikes, a huge spike. Shadowlands was massive. And then, do you know what? People drop out. They go and play other things.
We're also in the pandemic, so people have more time to play.
And we are coming out of the pandemic now. It means people
have less time to
want
play.
to go outside into the world, breathe fresh air again.
And spend their money in a pub because they choose to cancel their subscription.
Things like that.
Why
Crazy
you
ideas.
have.
But the fact is that's common sense and doesn't meet this narrative, which is the game's already dead, but I'm going to keep playing for some reason. No, I just want to add here, because it's not keep playing. Bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen, this isn't somebody who is playing the game like you and I. This is somebody that this game is so dead, so gone, beyond repair, we have given up hope.
Yep.
That I'm going to pay for an esports team out of my own pocket in this game. Not only that, Asmongold recently did, and we'll get onto this in a little bit when he talks about TBC, it recently did a TBC tournament.
Yes.
Hosted a TBC tournament in something that has broken his heart and it's all over. The two they're not compatible.
It doesn't match up. But I'm going back to his pop at Soul Ash and Conduit
Yes.
Energy.
Apologies.
Okay? So let's just refocus back in.
Yep.
So, Soul Ash is the system to make your legendary, which you can obtain in Torghast.
Yes.
We get to Torghast in a minute, so we'll discuss that then.
Yep.
Conduit Energy. Now, unless you are popping around as a professional Mythic Plus player, and if you are, you play on a tournament realm, or you are in a high top-end Mythic raiding guild, how do you run out of Conduit Energy each week?
Really interesting. I would say it's be an interesting statistic I'd like to see Blizzard release, is what percentage of people actually hit their Conduit Energy cap each week.
We have a guild member, and I won't name anybody, but they play a class.
Yep.
And they actually like to swap spec during the week
Play pretty much every spec, yep.
for various bits they do during the week.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Mythic Plus Day, they need to be back in their Mythic Plus spec.
Yep.
And as far as I'm aware, they've never run out of Conduit Energy.
No. Now, granted, it does happen, and I get it's a pain, but as I say, I imagine probably 90% of the player base never change their conduits.
Or when they do, it's because they're upgrading. And like, for example, recently the rebuild of the Shaman, I've moved some of my powers around from my original ones. So I am swapping them, but I swap maybe 3, 4 at a time. I'm not going to burn through my Conduit Energy in a single week.
Well, here's my thinking on this. I understand for some that's going to be an issue.
For some.
Yeah, I understand that, and I 100% respect that. So yes, there could maybe be a way that when you change your spec, your Conduit Energy resets. So if you've used up half the energy, let's say you're on a Paladin and you go prop, and you haven't used any, you've got a full bar, but when you go to Ret, you already used half of it up that week.
Yeah.
You go back to Ret, it's half of it. So yeah, there are ways around that, but that to me is just a simple conversation.
That to me becomes a bigger problem in later patches if they don't increase the amount of Conduit Energy you've got, but they increase the number of bits you can change.
In 9.1, we know they are increasing.
Yeah.
So I see that as a conversation point to be had, and granted, it was raised. Soul Ash, I don't see a problem with.
Absolutely non-tool, but we will get to Torghast in a minute.
Yeah, but to just touch on Soul Ash without going to the Torghast bit, if you look at Soul Ash in regards to a way of obtaining legendaries, then that system is far better, far more flexible than what we had in Legion, which everybody lauds Legion as this amazing patch, or amazing expansion, apologies. But yet, we had where it was just pure RNG, what you got.
Yep.
I like, if we talk about rewarding player experience, I got my first Lego, and it was my best
this
Lego
is a frickin' joke.
from a Blingatron in the middle of Dalaran. And it was my best. It was the best one I could possibly want.
And it was a further 3 weeks until I got the non-BIS first Lego drop.
So nobody can tell me that the system we had, because the problem is people compare end of expansion. End of Legion, yeah, you can get what you want when you want. But at the beginning, at the same time in Legion's lifespan, it's far easier to get the legendary one. I now have a bag full of legendaries, all different ones, so I can swap in and change them, and all of the ones are exactly the ones I want.
Also, I can calculate how far I've worked towards the legendary that I want, so I can control that. So as a player that has limited time, if I know I need more Soul Ash because I need to upgrade my legendary, or I actually think now I need a different legendary, I know that I can put my playtime towards running Torghast to get Soul Ash versus getting drunk doing something else, because it allows me to control how I build my legendary. And I can have a legendary, which I didn't have for a long time in Legion.
Yeah.
Because of the RNG gods.
So if you turn around and say on one side, Conduit Energy is going to affect the very top players, and we respect that, and there should be a way to enable them to be able to
Mitigate.
play their classes as they want, which we all should be able to do. Then your flip side is the Soul Ash. You have to look at the same, because that affected the lower player base.
Yep.
If you're not doing Mythic Plus, you're not doing all these various ways to get the Legendary like you were in Legion, then you're really stuck on how you do it. Now, any player can easily you get your opening quest, this is how you're going to get your Legendary, and you can get it really quick. If anything, the issue for the casual player base, I will say again, is how do you get all of the powers, not the Soul Ash, because that's an issue. Because you have to do all different types of content. Now there are ways to mitigate that, but you have to wait a long time to do it. But you have to say, okay, one hand content energy affects top players, Soul Ash casual players. That's fine. That is a good premise. That's a good conversation piece.
Yeah, great conversation.
And then but if we were in a better position with Blizzard, that we weren't constantly raging at them, then maybe they would have dialogue with us about this.
Yeah.
Maybe this is something that, Sloot has an interview coming up. We've had Preach have interviews with people. Towley's had interviews with people. This is just a simple conversation piece that can be had. That's it. But because the drama we make surrounding all of this, is that really game breaking? No. So maybe we focus on the things that are. But let's move on. We're getting into apparently really game breaking stuff.
Okay.
Now, when I see a pop-up that Burning Crusade is releasing less than a month from now, and Illidan's iconic "You are not prepared" quote, co-opted to sell ridiculous overpriced microtransactions, I see the last bit of heart and soul of a game I love being drained away for a quarterly earnings report.
Can I jump in?
Yes.
Can you just clarify to me, if you have an active World of Warcraft account, Classic and TB and Burning Crusade, as it's being released,
Yep.
you can still play that as part of your monthly subscription.
Part of your subscription, yeah. Yeah, you don't need to buy anything extra, it's just, we'll be giving it to you.
I could sit there and level my character. I mean, God, I'd never do it. I could level my character.
Well, wait, we're going to get onto that. That's literally, you're preemptively going into our next paragraph, which is about this. These things are so blatant in their disregard for the player experience that even the most resolute of Blizzard defenders...
Do they have tape?
They do. Apparently we are Blizzard defenders, so, I assume we're like the Avengers, so... Yeah.
Let me go put my pants over my trousers.
Oh, that means I can be the Tony Stark?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Defenders have had to resort to saying they don't care instead of trying to look on the bright side. Because there is no bright side. Asmongold needs to stop playing a warrior and start playing a warlock or a death knight. It's so dark. Are you part of the DC universe? They take pride in being taken advantage of. Well, that's a life choice. As if being able to afford a $70 microtransaction is an accomplishment. As if it's not lining the pockets of executives who don't even know who Illidan is.
Has he got a fetish for Illidan?
Oh, well, it's Illidan.
Okay. Well, here's the thing, right? As a consumer of a game, I pay for the services of this game that I enjoy to play, and I put quite a few hours of my leisure time into.
Yes.
And I get a second game for free, in essence, because I'm going to be honest, I subscribe for what is now known as retail.
Yes.
It's my preferred experience. But I get this second game for free. Now, granted, if I have a spare $70, I could toss it at getting... What does it give you for this? A mount, some pets.
2 mounts, 2 toys, a boost, and game time.
I could do that. I see that as no accomplishment. But I do see that as being able to own some very specific mounts that come out for this release. And I'm a bit of a collector of those, so there may be a level of temptation there. But I would be buying that in order to get the mount. Because actually I have no problem with a microtransaction that I don't compulsorily have to purchase in order to play the game.
Well, you and I would wait until, as I've said in the previous video, it's on sale. And then maybe get it because you want the mounts. But here's the thing.
Do you need those mounts to play Burning Crusade?
No, but my thing is, blatant disregard of the player experience.
can anybody truly say, hand on heart, that the classic World of Warcraft experience was in any way the same as the vanilla WoW experience? Because it wasn't.
It wasn't.
It wasn't. We had people killing bosses ridiculously quick, people two-manning Onyxia, all sorts of crazy shenanigans which never would have happened. It's like going to Disneyland Paris.
I'm going to admit something.
Compared to going to Disneyland in Florida.
I'm going to admit something. I watched the classic launch on Asmongold's channel.
Yes, I did.
And
Him, O'Connell,
and Estefan.
and Esther.
And O'Connell and Estefan were using add-ons to tell them the fastest way to level their characters.
Yes.
Did that exist in vanilla?
But apparently that's fine, but paying Blizzard because you don't have time to level. And we all know the biggest thing that you'll always hear about Classic, about Vanilla, or about any of your TBC is the leveling experience took so long. It was ridiculous, and that was part of it. That was what immersed you in the world. But by now, people just want to get that little tape, that little nostalgia berry.
Yeah.
Ooh. So they're going to turn around and say, well, it's $39.99 to buy a boost.
So if, for example, my friends that I play World of Warcraft with
Yep.
turned around and they said, we're going to be playing TBC for a period of time, we're going to do this, that and the other, come and join us. Now, I don't have time to level a character.
Nope.
I probably, and please don't shoot me for this, would buy the 39 quid boost.
But then you're sitting there thinking that's $40. With this $70, I get 2 mounts, one from my retail account as well, fantastic. And I get 2 toys, which are extremely rare. One of them sells for about $800. So why would I not just spend that little extra money and get something in return?
And in all truth, if you can afford to do that, and that's what you want to do.
Which is my next point. Consumerism.
I'm a
Exactly as you
consumer.
said at the beginning. It's a player choice. It's not. Nobody's saying it's a badge of honour or an accomplishment.
But unlike the word microtransactions in relation to gaming has such a negative impact, and it's a negative terminology because it comes from where you actually are blocked within a game unless you purchase microtransactions to bring yourself forwards. This actually is not a blockage to you playing this game.
No.
And actually, if you take the sentiment of this statement, you wouldn't even be considering purchasing this because your pleasure comes from the drawn-out leveling experience.
Yes. That's where I struggle with the sort of duality of the statement. Because you've also got things like you disregard the player experience, but yeah, a lot of, and keeping the purity of it, but a lot of them have turned around and begged for gold when they were going for the 5 million gold mount.
Yeah.
Doesn't that dilute the player experience? Doesn't you getting carried through
A dungeon.
whatever dilute the player experience? Where you go and just like, that's the world you live in, and that's what you want to do. If you're a big streamer like Asmongold and you can do those things, that's cool. That's the way you play the game.
You be you.
But you can't criticise somebody else for buying something which is entirely up to them. Going, actually, do you know what? I get a mount, I get some toys, and I get a boost, which means I can go play with my friends.
Yeah.
Fine. And at what point in World of Warcraft's history have you not been paying money into an executive's pocket? If I remember correctly, they did not start out as a couple of friends made the game and then just posted it online free for anybody to play.
No.
It has always been a business. They have always been out to make money. That's always been the idea. Now saying, I understand that Blizzard are with Activision, and I get Activision the big bad, but it's always been about the money, so there's no point turning it around now.
To the point that they've actually taken down private servers to prevent people from playing their game for free, of which I have full respect for them.
That's fine, it's their intellectual property, it's fine.
Completely.
If somebody suddenly turned around and took, a video of mine or a video of Asmongold's or and used it without permission, people would get annoyed because you put work into that.
I completely agree.
Yeah. Speaking of time, effort, World of Warcraft used to be a game that made you want to waste your time. Now, it's just a game that wastes your time. This is one of those statements that sounds amazing.
It's actual paradox when you read it.
When you first read it, it sounds amazing. Like, oh my god, it's so true. World of Warcraft used to be a game that made you want to waste your time. World of Warcraft's never been a game that's made me want to waste my time. It's
not a waste
been
of time
an
if I'm enjoying my
enjoyable
hobby.
experience.
Yep.
It's like saying going on a golf course is a waste of time, or playing football with your friends is a waste of time, or whatever it is you choose to do. It's
Reading
not.
a good book.
You are, reading a book, watching a film.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with it. If it's your hobby and you're enjoying it, then that is never a waste of time. That's all good. And if you turn around now and your sentiment is, now it's just a game that wastes your time, it's not mandatory. And here's the thing, for you and I, it's not mandatory to play this game.
No.
We could go off, play something else. We can unsub. We've done it before in the past, as have many players. The issue comes if you now read this as if this is your job. Because now it's just a game that wastes your time. That's the way somebody talks about a job.
Yes.
I'm stuck in a job I no longer enjoy. That's where Asmongold is. And when I read all of this, when I read people like Preach's tweets, and I've heard Preach talk about it on his streams, they are stuck in a world where they are playing something they no longer enjoy.
They are bound to the game in order to earn the buck.
Exactly. This is where they make their money from. So when people read their comments and they read their statements, they don't read them as if they are... They read them as if they're their friend, and they're somebody that's also playing the game exactly like they are, but they're not. Asmongold makes an awful lot of money off of World of Warcraft. He now makes it being extremely negative about World of Warcraft, wrapped up in a lovely bow of, but it's because I care.
To take your thoughts, which are your frustrations, because it's a job to you now, forwards into the actual games community. Asmongold's community is enormous. It's also well known as being one of the most toxic communities out there. And they are the people that you are stepping into those dungeons with when you pug.
Sadly, yeah. And that's a shame, because when I've heard Zach talk on things that aren't Asmongold related, when Zach's talking on, let's say, a podcast...
He's a super intelligent dude.
He's really intelligent. He talks from, like, the duality of the game. He talks about it from every aspect, from... If you're casual, this is what you need. If you're hardcore, this is what you want. Because he deals with all those people. His fans are casual players, but he deals in a world where he can talk to all the professional players.
By the very nature that he actually sponsored the esports team.
Yeah, he literally has his own esports team.
He runs mount competitions each week.
Yep.
He is the true both ends of the spectrum. However, he is also currently jaded with his job.
Yeah, and that's the big issue, is that he's trapped in this... what feels like something that... And he has tried to take a break from the game. He's tried to do many things to step away from the game. But he can't, because his money and everything is still tied into World of Warcraft. A game which he apparently says is, betrayed every trust that he still has. Is wasting his time, physically wasting his time, as he just said there. But yet he's still bound to play it. But let's continue, because there is so much more to get through. Every system that's added into the game, with obvious playtime extenders, corruption vendor rotation, losing soul ash when transferring to alts in 9.1, conduit, energy, etc. Do something that's much more insidious than just making people mad. They show the man behind the machine, the experience you have in the game. The time you spend is no longer the result of trials and tribulations inside Azeroth, but instead time trials and tribulations inside the accounting department. The willing suspension of disbelief is shattered, and the only thing that's left over is a poorly designed Skinner box with an uninspired disguise. The thing is, when has an MMO never been a time sink in some way?
I genuinely thought that that's what the point was of an MMO. In order that you could sink time, have some RP, have some story, have some challenges of completing dungeons. Every MMO that I've played has that level of kind of test yourself towards the end, and you can spend time with friends if you're lucky enough to have them. There's been times where we've had nobody in our guild, but we still tootled on as a couple.
Yep.
But I just get really concerned about this trials and tribulations inside of Azeroth, but instead the time trials and the tabulation inside the accounting department. There is no link in your time inside World of Warcraft to the Blizzard accounting department other than the fact you pay your monthly sub?
Which you have done since day dot. And the fact is that you talk about playtime expenders. Vanilla had a huge grind on leveling just to get to the end game. That would never fly now. People would be incensed.
Oh my god.
People didn't want to go to 120 because it just took too long. It was boring. I don't want to play it.
It's not going to spurge.
So there've always been ways to extend the gameplay. TBC had the most convoluted, which people love, route of you need to do this to get that, to do this to go there, to do this, then get that, then see this person,
But
and get
Bob
that person.
didn't get this.
Yeah,
He can't come.
Well, I'll get if you use somebody else's key. You have to find key. So long. The Onyxia quest line was fantastic, but took ages, and you then had to do it on alts. But nobody had issue with that because apparently that was the purity and fantasticness of the game. Now they try and do anything like that to try and extend our game time. Because at the end of the day, let's say they did a expansion, and they said, "Look, we hear you. We are going to give you everything out the box. There's not going to be any patches. When we drop this expansion, there are 5 raids already in there. There's all the dungeons you ever want. The end game loot is already there. Every system is already in place. People would be done with that in a month.
Less.
Yeah, they have to. Yeah, every raid would be done in the first week.
Limit will be done in 3 weeks.
They have to time this content out. 1, because they're creating it as they go. 2, because you can't have the player base stretching itself out. You have to keep everybody together. I know it annoys a lot of people, but you have to try and go at the pace of the slowest person, not the fastest.
And I'm happy to be the slowest person and to turn around and say, I am not currently in a content drought.
No, neither am I. So where is this idea that it's all now about the accounting department, whereas before it never was? We're back to the executive thing and the money. It's always been about the money. It always has
It's
been.
a company.
Yeah.
They didn't start it for the love of sharing this dream with people. There has been a subscription from day one to play World of Warcraft. And actually, when it went for sale, World of Warcraft was actually one of the most expensive PC games out there. Because PC games never used to cost much, that's why people preferred them. But World of Warcraft was actually relatively expensive to purchase, and you had to pay a subscription.
Oh, if you were a kid trying to convince your parents to pay monthly for a computer game, like what?
What? They'd rather
Ridiculous.
pay 60 quid for an Xbox game back then and it'd be done. But it wasn't 60 quid, it was only 35. But be done.
We're going deep now. We're okay.
Yep.
Here's
Well,
the thing. Here's the thing for
This
me.
is my favourite part.
Everything above this, everything we've just spoken about for the last God knows how long,
Uh-huh.
that's the creme brulee crust. We are
Yep.
going into the sludge below that now.
Yep.
So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Bellular Gaming. All of you will know that I'm already slightly biased against this because I'm not a fan of Bellular, but we shall continue. Bellular Gaming recently came up with the most beautiful metaphor for describing the way Blizzard designs its systems. It's like eating a great salad, but there's a dick in the salad. Blizzard, get the dicks out of our salad. You can try to eat around it, put dressing on it, or just pretend it's not there. But at the end of the day, there's a dick in the salad, and everybody knows it.
2 things.
Yes.
1, I might like dick in my salad.
The bit you may have a problem with is the salad.
It could well be.
Mm-hmm.
2, I'm in a restaurant
Yes.
and somebody brings me a salad and there is a penis
Yes.
in the salad.
Mm-hmm.
I go, excuse me, waiter, there appears to be a penis in
Yes.
my salad.
Yes.
I do not wish to eat the penis salad,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore I'm probably going to leave your establishment.
And I'm probably not going to pay.
And I'm certainly not paying
Also, you may
for
want to check your chef because he may be bleeding to death in the kitchen.
without his penis.
Yes.
To me, that's quite a simple answer.
Your answer's way better than mine because what I would say is that the penis analogy isn't great. If you want to say it, then let's say there's lobster in the salad. And the problem is, you just don't like lobster. But you know what? There's people out there that
I
do
do.
like lobster. Yeah, and won't actually have a problem with it.
I've got to be honest, I'm not sure I'd have a problem with dick salad. I'd be intrigued.
But this is my point: is that you're just saying blanketly, that's just Blizzard. It's all wrong. What you've done, we don't like. Blanket.
Everything's wrong. You put a dick in my face.
In the salad. To put it in more plain terms, thank God.
As the dick in the salad was clearly
Please
confusing.
stop saying that. We're going down a dark road here.
Dick.
Stop making systems with obvious flaws. Stop waiting till 0.2 or 0.3 patch or an expansion to implement quality of life changes that were suggested in alpha. It's ridiculous to think that we get fed obvious dysfunctional systems only to be hyped up later into coming back and paying more money so that we can play them properly. I'm sick of it. I was willing to deal with this in Legion with Legendaries. I was less willing to deal with it in BFA with Azerite and Corruptions. But now in Shadowlands, I, along with many others, no longer welcome quality of life changes with excitement, but instead with, oh, whoopsie me. Well, the issue here, what he's saying is why aren't they implemented at the very beginning? Why are they not there at the very start of the game?
Comparably, in comparison to vanilla, we live in quality of life heaven now.
Which, funny enough, is why people wanted Classic.
Because they didn't want
They
quality
wanted
of life.
all of the quality of life things stripped back. All of the supposedly ease of our lives that we have now. Transmog, mounts, flying, all those things stripped away and taken right back to the very core essence of the game. Then players proceed to trample all over that with our modern thinking and show that it was kind of pointless, and people made tons of gold, completed content super easy.
Used add-ons and mods.
Yeah, which we didn't have back in the day. So kind of destroyed all of that. But the thing here that I have a problem with is, as we said before, WoW has to be paced at the slowest end of the player base.
Muggins!
So if you're going to turn around and say, okay, look, you can send Soul Ash to any of your ults, which is what's coming in 9.1.
Yeah.
I'm a player that can play a lot, I can keep capping my Soul Ash, I can have tons of it, then I can keep shifting that off to all of my ults.
Mm-hmm.
All of my ults have all the best gear, and keep going and keep going and keep going. Somebody else can't do that.
Nope.
They maybe have the time to do it on their main.
Yep.
Just. And then they're like, okay, I've got my legendary, fantastic. I've got to get enough to get to my next rank, and then my next rank, and next rank. Meanwhile, you know, I'm there flinging Soul Ash to everybody.
Yes.
It makes the gap between the very bottom and the very top vast.
It completely does.
And that's the problem. So what they do, this Soul Ash going to all players, that's an improvement for the bottom percentile, not the top. The top already are running. You look at the Limit Boys or the Echo guys, they're all running loads of characters through Torghast, capping them all up, which is why they're moaning about having to do Torghast so often.
Because they have to run it so often.
Because they're running it so much. But for the lower player base, like us, it's great. I can go, oh, I've got thousands of Soul Ash, I can now send that to my monk, and he can actually go and get his Lego now. That's great. That's really good news. That's the problem, is that these aren't for the top players. These are for the lower end players to help them catch up.
We're going back to the whole, I can control how much I play, and I can control where I'm shifting it around to. But I can also accept that if you had released this mechanism within straight away as the game came out, it would have been abused to hell.
It wasn't needed.
It's not needed.
It's needed to help people try and catch up.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
It's needed to help people that want to swap their main. It might be that you have been, what's low at the moment? Hunters?
Survival Hunter.
They've not been as great as they've been previously.
Yeah, Survival Hunter's in a very bad state.
And it might be that actually you want to play a different character, but like me, you're attached to Survival Hunter, so you've taken that through, where your Soul Ash is, and now what you can do is just swap it across. Also means you can run Torghast on your character that you don't get to play as meta, okay? Because Torghast is really fun, we'll get to that. And you can have fun with that character, you can gather Soul Ash, but then you can send it to the character that you need it on.
Yeah.
You can choose where you have your fun, even if your character is not meta.
Again, talking about premise and conclusion. The premise of this isn't bad. What this tells me is there is a lack of communication from Blizzard and the community. Because Blizzard need to say, this is why. Like, in the patch notes, I've always thought Blizzard should tell us why they're doing things. In a constructive way, so that we can give constructive feedback. And Blizzard can turn around and say, no thanks, but no thanks. And we should respect that. That's how we get dialogue. But Blizzard at the moment won't do that because we just rage. We data mine stuff before it's even been released.
Oh, I thought that annoyed me.
We rage about it before Blizzard have even said anything. We're already on the warpath. And then Blizzard going, oh, look, this is in PTR. We're changing it and tweaking it and stuff. Like, play it on PTR and then give us your feedback. And we'll be able to do it better. But don't just rage us. So why would they? But I think this is a literal lack of communication in Blizzard turning around and saying, hey, this is why we're doing this quality of life change. It's to help these people, not these people. There you go.
Can I be very honest though? In the lead up to the launch of Shadowlands, Blizzard very much put an emphasis on the new and the casual player, and that they wanted to build their game so that they were welcome to that game again. That's the reason that they introduced Exile's Reach.
Yep.
It's the reason that they introduced the Murloc system for new players.
Yep.
They are trying to encourage new players and casual players to be able to actually play their game because it's revenue in their pocket. They are a company. Okay, that's quite frank. They need to meet the needs of all. I think they try, but I agree with you. I think there is a communication issue there. But
so let's go to our next bit, which will tell us about that communication issue and why it may be there. There are two realities in which this can occur. The first is that the developers are genuinely incompetent. They actually have no idea how players will interact with their systems, and that they honestly need 6 months of failure points to come to the same conclusion the player base came to during alpha. The second reality is that they're doing it on purpose. They intentionally withhold quality of life changes and obvious improvements in order to artificially extend game time and boost performance metrics without actually having to create new content, but instead just making existing content take longer.
is this the bit where I mentioned that I've only been playing this game since November? Shadowlands? Is this the bit where I can point out that who gets access to Alpha?
Because it's the influencers. All of these people that are moaning are the ones that have had it since Alpha.
Yeah.
Many of them, Asmongold wasn't one of them, were invited to attend a content creators seminar with Blizzard, where they could talk about a roundtable discussion of the things that were going well, the things that weren't going well, to give their feedback to Blizzard so that it could be implemented into the game. And this is not the first time that's happened. So the game we are playing now is partly created by the people that are now moaning about this game. Now, as I say, Asmongold, as far as I'm aware, was not invited. He never is. I can't think why. But people like Preach, people were invited. Preach, in fact, wasn't able to attend because he was banned by Blizzard at that time.
For cheating within the game.
For abusing game mechanics, yes. So, feedback is being given. They are discussing these things. So how can you potentially talk about the failures of the developers and what they're doing without saying that in some way we, the community, because I include the influencers and everybody are part of this community. They're the tip of the spear, if you want, of the community. They're the
most vocal.
They're the vocal, part of it. They in some way have driven us to where we are now. So, but yet, I never ever take responsibility for that. And worse, if I continue on with this, the truth is that I don't think that it's the first or the second. I think it's both. So what he's actually saying is here, he genuinely believes that developers who go to work at Blizzard are incompetent, cannot do their jobs. Incompetency is a reason for somebody being fired, because they can't do their job right. These are people, Blizzard, as we know, are not the best employers in the world. They don't give the big money, but people still desperately want to go there. Why? Because they have grown up playing these games. They've grown up fans of Blizzard, loving the worlds they have created. And yet, they get this thrown back at them.
So I'd like to take the second part of the statement.
Mm-hmm.
So the reality is that it's there to extend game time, boost performance metrics, and that they're intentionally doing it. And that their obvious improvements that were given during beta have not been implemented.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The launch of Shadowlands was unique for Blizzard. The alpha was not subject to barring, so actually influencers could stream it. The beta was one of the longest betas that Blizzard has ever done. The community interaction during those for Blizzard was enormous, with the opportunity for influencers to give their feedback, as well as anyone else who had the beta.
Yep.
Forums were being monitored. Comments were being posted back from Blizzard on people's suggestions. There were numerous changes made by Blizzard from that beta. Because you had Torghast. Should it have a timer? Shouldn't it have a timer? Should it have a timer? Shouldn't it have a timer? You had bits that were tweaked within the Covenant system to actually meet need. They actually listened to what the community was saying.
If we may recreate that, so you're an influencer, managed to get into beta, or you're lucky that you're not even an influencer, you got in.
Yeah.
Don't know who you're friends with at Blizzard, but you've got in, and now you are just going to politely talk to Blizzard and say, hey, while playing your fantastic alpha beta, these are the things that I think potentially could be looked at.
Dear Blizzard, I have adored my
Pull the ripcord! Pull it! Pull the ripcord! Pull the ripcord! Pull the ripcord! Pull it! Pull the ripcord! Pull the ripcord!
I've enjoyed...
Pull the ripcord!
I mean,
pull it!
what about...
Pull it now!
What about...
Pull ripcord!
Blizzard,
Pull the ripcord! Pull the ripcord! And that's all that we had. Even to the point where at the very end of the beta cycle, when we knew Covenants wasn't going to be changed, which was fine, I had no issue with that, and even smart people were going, you're not going to have 4 of each one, that's ridiculous. Still, we had the big Ian Hazacostas preach interview, dun dun dun, and what was discussed? Nothing but Covenants. That was the big fighting point. If this is the hill you want to die on. And it was the only thing people were talking about. Pull the ripcord, hashtag pull the ripcord, and all those other really...
Nobody else mentioned the quality of life of having to get soul ash at that point.
It was all... Pull the ripcord drowned everything. To the point where Ian literally had to do interview after interview trying to say, look, we're not going to do this, we want this game to be an RPG. Which is a noble aspiration.
Nobody knew soul ash would be a non-quality of life thing at that point, because all everybody would scream about is...
Pull the ripcord. That was it. That's what everybody moaned about. That's what the alpha beta cycle became. Even when we knew, and this is something that I feel bad for Sloot. Sloot tried to get the GCD changes done. He actually went and did it the proper way. He went to Blizzard. He talked to Blizzard, said, hey, these are the concerns I've got.
Pull the ripcord!
And that's the problem. It just became pull the ripcord. Everybody ignored what Sloot was doing, and they were like, Preach is our hero. He's fighting our corner. He's asking questions we already know the answer to, and Ian's not answering them. That makes him a superhero. And I will honestly say now, I honestly believe where Sloot is at the moment, because he seems a little down. Good luck to you, Sloot. Hope you get better. He seems a little down. I think a lot of that came from he fought his buns off with Blizzard to try and get changes, to try and get things done, and it wasn't appreciated by the community.
Because maybe they were logical changes that would have had an impact on quality of life in the game.
He didn't publicise it.
No.
He talked about it, but he went to Blizzard. He didn't do an interview where he screamed at them and just kept asking the same question, knowing he wouldn't get an answer. No, he just went to see them, gave them all the data.
So I've worked out what the problem is.
Go for it.
Blizzard goes to the wrong people for effective community feedback. I am not a hero worship of Blizzard here. This is also a fault of Blizzard. Blizzard needs to step away from dealing with the appendage that we found in the salads that are dominating the community right now, and actually listen to the foundation of the community and give them an opportunity to be heard in their feedback without somebody screaming over the top.
I get it, but here's the problem. we get to in the next part.
Okay.
The developers lack humility to give the player base what they want. And when they do, they lack the insight to give them what they need. The developers identify problems that players don't have, then implement solutions to those problems that players don't want. See the problem here.
Can we find, is there a justification for those statements?
I would say again, they come back to communication. The developers lack humility to give the player base what they want. Well, what is it we want, and do we word that in a constructive way to...
Pull a record.
Yeah. Do we do it in a constructive way where Blizzard can enter a dialogue with us? And if they do something, is it just that they already knew they were going to do it? So for instance, everybody's going, there should be one covenant. We should have just one overarching covenant where we can pick whatever power we want.
Okay.
So, you know, if you want to be Venthyr, you can swap and be a Venthyr. If you want to be Kyrian, you can just swap and be a Kyrian.
Okay.
So think of like all of the covenants have combined into a super covenant, and we can kind of pick and choose who we want, because we're working with all of them, yeah?
Okay.
That's what people wanted from the very beginning.
Okay.
But Blizzard may be turning around and going, that's the end game. That's where we want to take it. We're not going to tell you that, because that spoils the story. We're not going to let you know that that's where it's heading, because people would then just go, well, just let us do it now. It's stupid. And that's the problem. So then what will happen is, in patch whatever, all of a sudden we've created the super covenant. We can now pick whatever ability we want, and players will go, this is what we told you to do. You're doing it because we told you to do it. Rather than the fact that it's what it was already intended. It's what they already meant to do. So same as the quality of life things, the Soul Ash. They may have been like, well look, we don't want to make it super easy right now for everybody because we want to try and keep the power, you know, we want to try and keep people as close together as possible at the very beginning when people are sort of levelling at different speeds. 9.1, everybody should be there or thereabouts. We'll make catch-up mechanics for people that want to get levelled. But now, kind of, people should be able to spread out their Soul Ash, and we'll start spreading out that love so everybody can bring their characters up together to the next level. That's fine. That's inside. Blizzard have already know they're going to do that.
And it's a hazard of a developing game like World of Warcraft is, unfortunately for Blizzard, that actually they are always working 2 to 3 years ahead of what we are currently playing.
Yes.
No, the statement I had a problem with is that developers identify problems that players don't have, then implement solutions to those problems that players don't want.
Yes. I believe the issue there that we're talking about is things like GCD changes, things like AoE capping changes, things like tier sets being removed and now being put back in, which fits both those statements, is that they did something that players don't want, and now they're going, oh, well, you can have them back in now.
I think there was a game developer, isn't it, that shows sort of some bits that they do with their game?
Well, the funny thing that I don't understand why people are missing, and I may be missing this a little bit, but if you look at the timelines of when they removed tier sets, so tier sets have always been a raid thing. You go into the raid and you get your tier sets, and you build them up.
Yeah.
When they removed tier sets, we got Mythic Plus.
Yep.
Now, if I have tier sets, I don't care what gear I get from Mythic Plus. The only thing I care about is rings, trinkets, weapons. Now, when Plus came in Legion, that removes weapons, so I've already got the weapon I'm going to get.
Yep.
So the only thing I potentially want from Mythic Plus is rings and trinkets. If you remove tier sets, then all of a sudden that opens up all the things I could potentially want from Mythic Plus. Makes Mythic Plus more appealing. I'm going to do Mythic Plus.
That's quite a good observation, that.
Now Mythic Plus has found its footing. They've brought in a new style of tier set.
Another note for Shadowlands is they've dropped the amount of gear that drops in Mythic Plus. So actually it might be that you have a cross range of gear until you get your tier set.
Yeah.
A viable cross range of gear coming from both Raid and Mythic Plus.
Also, it's the height of arrogance and hubris to believe that we are so insightful that we knew all the things that needed to be fixed and that Blizzard never saw it, and only now, after 6 months, could they possibly think to then change it, rather than they've designed it in a certain way And then they're thinking, well, in that patch we'll update it to have this, then in the next patch we have this, then finally that's going to be the final iteration of it.
Oh, you mean they've got a developed time plan for their game?
Yeah.
Move forward.
Okay. In Battle for Azeroth, I really tried to be more diplomatic with how I talk about the systems and the state of the game. But at this point, I'm so tired now. It's exhausting. The funny thing is that this is a very general post. But I could literally make a post this long about any number of systems in the game, and they're lazy and deserve to die. How many reskins of the Grom mount do we need? Why do we need to do 20 of the same world quests for an achievement? Why do Shadowlands rares only drop their unique items for people of that loot class, when most people want transmog universal? Why? Here's why. It's because, instead of innovating the game, Blizzard has mired themselves down into micromanaging expansion-specific systems. Imagine how hard it is to balance all of that. I don't envy the life of a WoW developer at all. No, not when you get this kind of hate. However, it was not my decision to make character balance in WoW have more unnecessary complexities than a Ruby Goldberg machine.
I'm really sorry that Asmongold is tired.
Well, joking aside, take a break from WoW.
Actually cancel that subscription from WoW. Don't take any freebies from them. Don't take any excessive rest from them. And just take a break from WoW, dude. You sound so stressed. But to address the statement, okay? How long has WoW been in existence now?
2004 it came out, really?
It's a long time.
It's a while.
It's a long time for a game to keep developing, especially as technology develops as well. And the ability of what they can do within this game has developed.
Mm-hmm.
And the market to which they're now addressing this game. Aiming is very different. How many reskins of the Gorm mount is there?
There's a couple, but they've now data mined. Again, this is a data mine thing.
So we're ruining our fun before we get
9.1 and all the mounts that are being added, and there is a new Grom skin.
there. Gorm skin.
Gorm skin, sorry, I was put Grom.
Yeah.
It's because the little gromling grub. But yes, the Gorm.
Okay, why do we have to do 20 world quests for an achievement? Remind me again, as a I played a little in vanilla, but not much.
Mm-hmm.
How grindy was vanilla again?
As we said previously, and as has been said a lot during this, it's an optional thing.
Yeah.
World quests you do all the time on many of your characters because you just need to.
I don't.
Well, I do. You just go through and you just do it on all your different characters, especially a lot of mine because they need the gear at the moment to get up to that
Do you
certain
know
level.
when I do world quests as a casual player? When I'm catching up on my dirty catch-up mechanism for renown.
And that's fine.
Yep.
So even during that, okay, you will potentially do the same quest over and over again. So doing 20 world quests isn't meant to be something that you do in the first 30 seconds of play. But to just finish up, what I was trying to say was, your world quests you discovered, there's things in WoW I still don't know exist that I didn't know you did. Did you know the big guy in Revendreth who throws you?
Mm-hmm.
You know you can get a food treat that will distract him,
I did know that.
and you get an achievement for it.
I've got that.
Oh, there you can see, there you go. I didn't know that until recently, that you could do that. Those little things are fantastic. Blizzard wants to reinvent the wheel every expansion, and they do. But they don't make a wheel. They make a hoverboard instead. Then during the entire expansion, we spend our time worrying about how will it fly. What fuel will the hoverboard use? How can we have a seatbelt for the hoverboard? We waste our time trying to design the perfect hoverboard for each expansion. We get halfway there. By the end of it, then we throw that hoverboard away and work on a new one. All at the same time that the player base is just asking for a better wheel.
It flips it because you almost think that Asmongold works for Blizzard in the tense here. I got confused when you were reading that. Because I thought he was saying that we as a community worry about needing a seatbelt for our hoverboard and how it's going to fly and everything else. But you know what? This might sound really laissez-faire of me, but I pay my cash to Blizzard and I trust in them that they're going to provide me with a game experience that I enjoy.
micromanaging these systems is coming at the cost of genuine innovation. The last time the game had real innovation was in Legion. I disagree. Now, almost all our systems are lesser derivatives of their Legion counterparts. Covenants are innovative to an extent as well. We need new ideas, not the same 8 ideas, and each expansion we get to pick 5 of them. So what you're saying is, we want the same but different.
But we want different but the same.
But the same, because micromanaging these systems is coming at the cost of genuine innovation. But you're saying that we want a wheel, but they're giving us a hoverboard. Now that's innovation.
Definitely
That's
innovation.
really changing. That's saying we've got this, but we can do better. We're gonna, not a wheel, you're gonna get a hoverboard. But what we're saying apparently is that we just want a better wheel. Well, that's not innovation.
I'm also thinking that actually what he wants is a cartwheel made out of wood instead of something made out of tensile steel or survival. He actually wants a backwards iteration, but smoother. I genuinely think that for Asmongold, the launch of Classic was the best thing ever because it was a step back to his comfort zone, but with the quality of life stuff on top. He didn't ever want development or movement forward because that changes the game and it makes it unknown. That's what a lot of people's fears come from with this game, is when we get a new mechanical system on top, it's the unknown quantity of where that's going to take us. I would say there's been innovation since Legion.
There's been evolution. The thing is, which is why I said I don't agree with the statement about Legion. The Legion was evolution.
There's an evolution from what?
You could say that, you know, with the Order Halls, they were an evolution of garrisons. Not necessarily in the right direction, but they were an evolution of that idea of a place you
they
go
were never
to gain.
going to revisit garrisons.
No, but a place to go to get, which I think is a shame. But a place to go to gain your story threads, and then you head out from there. It was a different kind of hub, heavily evolved, but it was an evolution. World quests were really nice, and I really like world quests. But they are, again, an evolution of a daily. They're also taken from many other games that had that. Warhammer Online had that system, where you had that kind of questing. So again, it's not a brand new idea. What, M Plus was probably the biggest thing to drop, which is what everybody goes on about with Legion, and realistically that was an evolution of Miss Pandaria in the challenge mode. So these are all just evolutions. So is it a wheel? Did it evolve? Is it a hoverboard? This is the thing. But this is a problem when I said about the creme brulee earlier on. Is that we start getting into just sludge, where Asmongold himself is arguing against himself a lot of the time. And the problem is nothing's been laid out. Is it what is it that he actually wants to achieve? What is the goal? What is the premise? And then the outcome that he wants? Because what he's saying here is, stop trying to reinvent the wheel. Stop trying to make it into something different, something wholly new. Just give us a little bit of an improvement. I was a Call of Duty fanboy, and I remember way back when Modern Warfare 3 came out, and I remember they got all of the top influencers for Call of Duty, and they got them all to play in a big converted barn, and it was all great, and they interviewed them all afterwards. And the really smart ones turned around and went, it's basically Modern Warfare 2. It's Modern Warfare 2.5, and we don't know if that's enough. And it wasn't. The game actually had some really good ideas in it, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough of an evolution for the player base, and they hated it. This is the same problem, is that, as Asmongold's saying, I want just something better, a bit better than what we've got now, but I don't want you to completely reinvent the wheel, but we want genuine innovation.
I genuinely think that he would be happy back. Do you remember when the talent tree and everything looked like a giant spider's web?
Yes.
And where you had so many abilities, but actually 50% of them you left in the book?
The reason that a lot of the player base of that ilk want that world back, and it will never happen now, is because there was a very easy way to turn around and say, I am better than you.
Of course there was.
The time I put into this game, I am better than you. Because very few people knew where to hunt out the best talent trees. Now, what a classic Wowhead. It will show you exact talent tree, the meta talent tree you want for your class. And that's where most people will go. They might not understand it, they might not see why, but that's the path they'll pick. So that world that they want, this world where I have a way of proving that I am better than you, doesn't exist anymore.
Don't even get me from Mage Tower.
But we have, the Mage Tower is in this. So
Oh, wow.
we're going to get to that. So let's carry on.
Oh, my favourite.
Torghast. Torghast is a great example of this. Torghast is currently at 5% of its potential.
Just 5?
5% of its potential, I'm afraid. And 9.1 is looking to push that number to somewhere around 15% of its potential. High praise indeed if you only think it's at 5%. Fair play.
Oh, we get the numerics from
Wake
this.
up and take some risks. Look at the incredible design of the Mage Tower bosses and then compare them with the corrupted trash can of a boss we have to look forward to in 9.1. I thought that boss was actually a lot of fun. What is happening? Torghast is supposed to be a roguelike, a new experience, but the only thing it's been is like a roguelike. 9.1 is a good start, but it needs to come faster and it needs to be better.
Okay, here's my thing on Torghast.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that there is room for development with Torghast. We are only in the first part of the expansion,
Yes.
but I love that.
But again, where is the description of what you want to see?
Where's the development forwards with it? What is it he wants from Torghast that he's not currently got?
What risks do you wish to be taken? What is it you wish to see? Because we've spoken about, or at least I've spoken about Torghast a lot on the channel, and about what the things that I would love to see within it. But there's nothing here about what it actually is that you want. What risks do you want them to take? Because here's the thing. The incredible design of the Mage Tower bosses. The Mage Tower bosses were great. They were fun, they were compelling, they were interesting, they were a challenge. But they were designed to be done once. Once you
One
did that,
time.
once you overcame that challenge, you got your appearance, you were done. That was the point. It was meant to be far more challenging than a boss you are meant to meet constantly. Plus, you cannot turn around, and a lot of these players will turn around and say to you, the reason they loved the Mage Tower was status. It was another way of turning around and saying, I am better than you. I have this appearance, you do not. If you put something like that into Torghast, which is meant to be run by everybody, then you're going to stop players being able to do it. So you can't have that.
Also, by, I don't know, not long into the Mage Tower being out, there were comprehensive, down to almost the click you needed to do guides of how to complete those bosses.
By the end of the expansion, the gear was so ridiculous you could easily just
Overcome
do
it.
Yes.
Whereas Torghast is a developing entity within this expansion.
Yes.
It changes each week. It's
Mhm.
refreshing content each week. If you don't play it all day, every day.
Yep.
I even enjoy twisting corridors for a giggle.
I do.
I have so much fun. The other thing that Torghast has certainly given me, and feedback that I've had when talking to people, is the ability to learn my class. Because the abilities that you get given actually amplify abilities that you should be using, and it just gives you a chance to, in a safe environment, learn your class
It's the
and
interesting
have
synergies.
fun with your
Yeah,
class.
100% agree.
And maybe not use your meta character, but still have fun and still do 120k damage.
216.
Okay, 260. But you see numbers, and you know what? I'm quite happy in my Mythic Plus, where I know that my numbers are not wondrous. But to have fun and to see that blasting across my screen on a Friday night, that's a laugh. And either I'm gone mad, but please mention the affects that we had this weekend, or whatever it's called, the ability within Torghast.
Oh, the Deep Soul. I believe it's called.
The Deep Soul is fantastic if you are with a group of people.
Yeah. And that's... So this is I don't see how players can turn around and say what they loved about the Mage Tower is the status of it.
It was a solo thing to do.
Yes, and then turn around and say you want that same level of status put towards the boss. I will say this: I've done the trash can boss. It's actually already on the channel. I've done it. It was a lot of fun. It's an interesting fight that if you mess it up, you will die, but you shouldn't really mess it up. That's good. It teaches people how to do interrupts. It teaches them don't step in the swirly stuff. It teaches them that if the boss goes into its pillar column form, which it does, then the ads are going to come. You're going to need to kill the ads. Don't focus on the boss. There's no point. It teaches them a lot of basic, simple things that are great in any form of content, but it does it in a very safe environment where they're not going to annoy you and your dungeon run. It's a great learning tool, and that's what it should be. That's exactly what Cuddles was saying. It's a place where people can learn their abilities and things like that. The Mage Tower was like an end level thing. That's like where you are really pushing yourself to try and do this thing, unless you're overgearing it. The trash can is just, why not turn around and say why aren't all bosses in dungeons as difficult as Mage Tower bosses? It's the same mindset. They're not. They're simple. Yes, the difficulty gets ramped up with keys and things like that, but the bosses aren't complex. They're literally 2 or 3 lines of things you need to remember.
I still can't get the hook.
Well, that's more, maybe just...
Personal responsibility.
Yeah, don't drink gin while doing dungeons.
Ian says I should get good.
Ian does say you should get good. Yeah, that's a player skill issue.
I believe that my hook problem is a player skill issue.
So, but let's continue, because there is yet more. There is yet more to go on about. Nearly every aspect of the game is suffering from lack of innovation. Least of all, raids. From my opinion. Raids are, and have been, the one thing that Blizzard has not stopped innovating and developing in better and better ways. I'm always excited for a new raid or dungeon in WoW, but WoW shouldn't all just be raids and dungeons.
I'm pausing for a moment to think about that.
The whole part of that sentence is entirely subjective, because it depends if you enjoyed it, if you had fun, what raid's your favourite. Like, I thought Nyloka was blur. I preferred Black Rock Foundry or Hellfire Citadel.
But then you participated to a different level during those raids.
Well, both.
Oh,
Did
yeah,
both
you
on
did,
her
didn't
own. So that's the thing. Like, you can't just say raids are fantastic now, but everything else has never been innovated. Because you literally said in Legion, they did innovate. Now they're not. When did they stop innovating? Why have they stopped? What is the issue? Because they have innovated. They have tried to develop things. If you think about Warfronts, now you can love or hate these features, but they did Warfronts. They've done Islands. They've done Visions. They've done Torghast. They have tried to innovate because individuals may not like that level of innovation. Doesn't mean Blizzard aren't innovating.
See, you and I split on that. Okay, we both loved Islands.
Yes.
My problem with Islands was you can only have 3 of you together.
Yes.
My love of Torghast, which is almost an equivalency, you can have a party of 5.
Yep.
Great, all your friends can come. I didn't particularly like Visions.
I was never a huge fan of Visions, but I did them.
You liked them a bit more than I did.
I like the challenge they presented, yeah.
And Warfronts were just somewhere to spend 15 minutes of your life.
They were something for lower level characters to get heroic gear, and that was it.
And to be honest with you, they were pretty much dead halfway through. But Blizzard's not saying that they've got all of these things right, but they are innovating by giving us the opportunity to sample this. And you'll notice nothing like Warfronts has come into Shadowlands. I think it was recognised that they were not great. However, I truly see Islands, Torghast is a development from Islands. The whole, you go into a different simulation each time, the fact that you're working together towards a goal. I know that your end goal is different, but I see that's why that part has moved to Torghast.
Yeah.
And they've taken something that people enjoyed, and then they've moved it on, and they've developed it further.
I'm not going to lie, I'd love to see PvP.
PvP Torghast?
3v3 or 5v5.
I thought we have that anyway by the fact that we all try and kill each other, and then we have the big dude that comes
I
and
would
kills
love
us.
to see you both start in a different part of the maze.
Yeah.
And have to work your way through it, but potentially
you're
that
going to
the
come across
enemy
them.
team is there. That would be fantastic. I would even do that if it was the AI teams again.
Yeah.
Because that would be a really fun laugh to do.
What's missing?
Yeah, what is the innovation? Where do you want to see them take this? Again, there's no information, there's no data. They're not providing anything. As if you say, you don't innovate. And the problem is, because that's a negative statement, nobody asks for justification. If I turn around now and say, no, that's wrong, Blizzard do innovate, people would turn around and say, when? Where? They would demand to know, show me where they innovate, because they don't. But because it's a negative statement, nobody will ask to justify that. About why don't you believe they're innovating? Because they are changing things, they are evolving. He literally said in the previous comment that rather than recreate the wheel, they created a hoverboard.
Mm-hmm.
Hoverboards are fucking cool,
Well, cool.
but apparently they've stopped innovating. This is what I mean by it's like Scooby-Doo all over the place.
Yep.
And that's where, like, how is anybody meant to make sense of this?
They're not.
And this is where, to me, everything collapses. All of this becomes completely null and void, and we've wasted like 5 hours of our life even reading this.
Okay.
Okay? The reason I'm sitting here writing this past midnight is not because I'm negative about the game. Oh no! Wipe that from your mind. It's the opposite. It's because I love the game. That's why I care so much. I want it to get better. This game has been a huge part of my life for the last 15 years, and I'll be damned if I leave it without a fight. I want to play it for the next 15 years. Even now, in the Shadowlands content drought, I still log in every single day and do the little activities that I enjoy. That's why I don't unsub. It's very simple. It's because I still enjoy the game. While the negatives are present, so are the positives. And there are more positives. The reason I'm frustrated and angry is because I know it can be so much better. I know it, and many of you out there do too. And I'm sick of pretending like I don't. We get a taste of it. We get the taste of... I'm actually losing my voice at the moment. We get a taste of what the potential of WoW is with Legion. Now imagine if that level of innovation and inspiration carried into BFA and now into Shadowlands. I'd never leave the house, and I'd be proud of it.
Have you had me sat here on a weekday night
Yes.
discussing this asthma tweet
Yes. Twitlonger.
of drivel, okay, about the negativities and the negative community and the negative feedback and where it's all being driven from because the game isn't innovative, the developers are apparently incompetent. However,
While the negatives are present, so are the positives, and there are more positives. But nowhere in this argument have the positives been explained as well. This has come across as a game that is dead, that cannot recover, that is beyond repair. Literally at the very beginning, we have been betrayed. The trust is gone.
the developers are incompetent.
Yes, openly said the developers are incompetent in this game. And yet, while all of that is stacked against it, there are apparently still more positives in this game than there are negatives. We simply can't express the positives. We can't give a balanced account.
Because I'd be interested to know what the little things he logs on daily for are that he enjoys. So I still log in every single day and do the little activities that I enjoy.
So that's the problem, is the literally beginning of this article is about the negativity of the community. Then there is a big long diatribe about all the things absolutely hated about this game and where it's gone completely and utterly wrong and off the rails. And he could write a 2,000 word essay on each thing that is wrong. I would also challenge him to write a 2,000 word essay then on the more things that he's positive about. Balance the argument. You can't turn around to developers and say they're incompetent and attack them and their professional credibility, but then turn around and go, but, you know, there's more positives than negatives.
The bitterness that comes across in this, the anger and the frustration, And it goes on that the reason I'm frustrated and angry. The anger that comes through with this. Do you know, and I know it's a typical thing to say, but dude, it's a game.
That's the problem, it's not.
And that is, I think, where the problem comes.
People talk from their point of view, and they'll be, yeah, Asmongold's right and all of this. But what they fail to realize, Asmongold isn't another player. He isn't just somebody that is on the forums, like back in the day, going, oh my god, I hate my class, this is so rubbish. Blizzard hate us, moan.
He's not even at the point of sleuths and the AoE cap argument, which was actually a finite detail.
GCDs
Yep,
he's talking
sorry,
about.
GCDs. It's a finite detail. That's not where Asmongold is coming from.
He's not made any structured argument. He's literally said, you haven't created the game that I want.
Can I make a bold and brash statement, and you can feel free to cut this out?
Go for it.
But is it that Asmongold is struggling to create content for his Twitch and for his YouTube from the current expansion? Possibly because Asmongold does not mythic raid. Correct?
Asmongold does whatever Asmongold happens to want to do at that time.
But he is not member of... So, okay, if I
He's
were...
not part of Limit or,
Yeah.
Lazarus Imperative or whatever.
Flip this back. I work super hard with a group of people to get our +5 mythic achievement.
Yes.
And that has taken weeks to do.
Yep.
And there is a sense of development of my character, development of my skills,
Yep.
and development as us as a group.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of it, and each chunk as we've gone along, a sense of achievement.
Yep.
And at the end of it, a big boost of achievement. However, if your mythic raid run is because you can step in with anybody you want to because you have that level of influence,
Yes.
you've not worked for 10 weeks to get to that point.
No.
There's been no sense of progression to that point. So it's almost like you have stepped into the game and then you get given the candy at the point that you want it and the game is over.
We go back to the 5 million gold mount. People were handing huge chunks of gold so that you get the mount. You didn't work for that. You didn't earn that. Same as, many other, like the gold in vanilla where people were just walking up and handing gold. You don't work for that. So the Scarab Lord, other people go off and mine these things and give it to you.
This is not Asmongold's fault in essence. It's actually because the character that Asmongold is means that that's what people will do because he has such a massive community.
He has a huge fan base. They do it out of love.
But
it's
he
not an
doesn't
attack on him.
experience this game anymore as a player. He actually experiences it as a professional player. Now, many of us would consider a professional player to be an esports player, but actually Asmongold, in his own bubble, is a professional WoW player.
Well, he's paid to play World of Warcraft.
He's paid to play World of Warcraft, and he feels he's in a drought. I am so fed up with hearing, even now, in Shadowlands content drought, your average player is not yet in a drought. Or am I really that behind?
If you do believe it's a content drought, people play other things. There's a lot of games coming out, there's a lot of things to go and do, so people will go and do those things.
Or get creative within the game to make your own content.
No, I'm not talking about content, I'm talking about people who are just enjoying the game. And that's the problem, is that you flip it back to this is somebody who it's their business, it is their livelihood.
And should somebody whose livelihood exists on their perception of this game in its current iteration be the representation of all the community?
It probably is, because bear in mind,
But
the
should it be?
positives outweigh the negatives.
And that's not what this is. This is a phallic object in a salad with a lot more phallic objects around it, and then a tiny little carrot on the side.
If you're going to present something, present it so that all aspects are covered. Hasn't done that here. You talk about let's go right back to what this is meant to be. This is the negativity in the community. And I think in terms of presenting that, he has done an outstanding job. He has literally showed the unrestrained, vitriolic anger, frustration, hatred, whatever you want to call it, that is not guided. There's no structure. There's no talking about these are the things I have issue with, and this is how I would change it. This is what needs to be done. This is how we save World of Warcraft in my idea. This is what I want from the game. Even if you're talking from a selfish point of view, these are the, you know, I only love raiding or only love Mythic Plus. That's all I want you to focus on. And do it from a selfish point of view. There's none of that here. It's literally just I'd be angry, I'd be moaning, and then you get to deep down, which I doubt a lot of people got this far. And then you, at that point, you turn around and say, there are more positives in this game than there are negatives. This whole tone of this entire thing says otherwise. And that's the problem, is that that tone is what people take into the game, whether they believe it or not. And they will talk about how awful things are. I've had it with people where they have come up to me and they have said how bad 9.1 is going to be. And I've said, oh, what aren't you looking forward to? And it's like, oh, all of it. It's good. We're going to work like content drought, and then it's just going to be rubbish. There's like nothing interesting coming. It's going to be more of the same. I might unsub. And it's like, okay, well, why? Have you gone on PTR? You're not a big fan. They nerfed your character or anything? Oh, I ain't on PTR. But I've been reading all the stuff online, and it's like, nah, it's no good. It's like, so you haven't even done any of the work. You haven't looked for yourself. You haven't done any of these things.
Or, in the reality of, and I'm telling you now, the majority of the people who are actually sat here playing this game, they are aware that 9.1 is on the horizon, they are currently playing their characters, they are currently enjoying the content, they are currently enjoying the specific area that they are doing, and they are very quietly just getting on with their game with the knowledge that 9.1 is on the horizon, and it will make absolutely diddly squat difference as to whether they continue to subscribe or not, because they will just enjoy doing the content that they enjoy.
Well, that's the silent majority of WoW, I would say.
Yes, but it is, and I will say, the majority of the player base.
It is, but the problem is they are silent. So you have this issue that anybody new...
I speak up now.
Yeah, of course, but we are a small channel.
Yes.
The big channels don't, because they... once you get to a position where you make enough money to start employing people to do things for you, then you have to keep making money to employ those people. And the simple fact is, negative sells.
But it is so sad. If you look back to the original footage and creation, content creation of WoW in the early days, it was all about people's achievements. It was all about, it was basically dodgy music over the top of people doing crazy stuff.
Well, parody songs, the PvP, were awful PvP videos that was always done to like heavy metal.
Gnome parties in like cities. People going off to do random achievements at random times, like sundowner parties.
There's people expressing their love for the game in different ways. Now, the only thing has got to be why Blizzard are incompetent, or basically any clickbait title that Bellular wants to put out. But that's the problem that I have with stuff like this, is that literally it said there is more about the game to love than to hate.
You've got to do the next paragraph, purely because my favourite line in this entire tweet is
I'm going to round this all up. So here we go. This is the final message to Blizzard, first of all.
From Asmongold.
And then to us, the players.
Yeah.
So, this is Asmongold to Blizzard. To the Blizzard developers. Stop messing us around. And stop messing around and start making the game that we know you can make. Get your phallic carrot-shaped objects out of the salad. Give us something worth wanting. It doesn't matter how a system should work, it matters how it makes a player feel. Stop releasing dysfunctional systems and then adding QOL, or quality of life improvements, later on as content. To the players, that's you and I, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Stop accepting dog poop. You're better than that. And so are the developers. There is no pride in having your time wasted. Stop trying to look on the bright side. You shouldn't have to. There shouldn't have been a dark side to begin with.
He's never played a demon hunter.
No, I played a Warlock for ages. We had a huge dark side. There's so much salt in the Warlock forums. I love it.
My message to the players. If you believe this diatribe, and your experience of playing World of Warcraft is not a pleasurable experience in which to spend your leisure time, then spend your leisure time and your hard-earned income elsewhere. Should be the simplest way to put it. However, if like the silent majority, like my good self, you enjoy playing this game,
Like
Asmongold apparently
more
buried somewhere
positives,
deep
more
inside
positives
this,
than negatives. Remember?
then actually continue playing the game. Feel free where you get the opportunity to present what you actually enjoy about the game and where you would prefer quality of life improvement. To round up my contribution to this, Grim, I would like to ask you a question and then you can ask me the same question back. Do you enjoy playing World of Warcraft Shadowlands?
I would honestly say it's probably my favourite expansion so far. For two reasons. One, I very much enjoy the content. I like the M+. Could things be better? Yeah. But I like the storyline. I like the Covenant stuff. I like all of that. I like Torghast a lot. And more importantly, I've enjoyed it with the company that I've done it with. That's the important bit. So the same question goes back to you. You enjoyed Shadowlands so far?
I am absolutely loving Shadowlands so far. You know this because I actually play my characters, I develop my characters, and I am even bringing new characters through that I am in love with, my little fluffies.
Yep.
Again, it is about the community, our small community. However, take that a bit wider. We can be negative about our community. So we referred earlier to one night a few weeks ago where we were hunting for our guildie who was leveling. And during this, I posted, as we were trying to hunt for this person, in region chat, and every horde person we came across, I whispered to say, have you seen this particular person? Did I get any negative responses? No. Actually, every single one of them bothered to reply to me. A couple of them were in an in-depth conversation with me about where they might be or where they may have seen them.
Yep.
There are still people out there that enjoy this community aspect of the game, and there are polite people out there. It can be a positive experience, and you know what? I enjoy the game, and that's what I take forward, and that's where the shout needs to go higher. Sod pull the ripcord. List what you like. List what you enjoy. And you know what? Blizzard can learn from that because that's what they will take forward. Stuff that people enjoy the contents of. Be positive. And if you're that negative, take the cash and jog on out of there.